Have you ever stopped to consider a truly unsettling thought? For the vast majority of people, the greatest thief of vitality in their later years is not a catastrophic illness or a sudden tragedy. It is not the heart disease we are warned about, nor the dementia we fear. Instead, it is a series of quiet, seemingly harmless mistakes, invisible currents that slowly pull us away from the life we dreamed of living. It is the gradual erosion of joy, freedom, and dignity, happening so subtly that we often don't notice until we find ourselves stranded in a place of regret, asking, "How did I get here? Is this truly how I wanted to live at this stage of my life?" This is not a message of fear, but one of profound empowerment. It is a lifeline for those of us navigating our 60s, 70s, and beyond, who are determined to age with strength, purpose, and unshakable self-worth. The truth, supported by decades of psychological and sociological observation, is that countless good, intelligent, and caring people walk directly into these traps. They don't do so out of carelessness or apathy. They do it because they are following what they believe to be the normal, expected path. They are making choices that seem reasonable, convenient, or even kind on the surface, without ever realizing the silent, cumulative cost. Imagine your life as a ship you have expertly navigated for decades. You've weathered storms, charted new courses, and carried precious cargo of memories and relationships. Now, as you enter the vast, open waters of your later years, you believe the most difficult parts of the journey are behind you. Yet, beneath the calm surface, there are powerful, unseen currents. These currents are the habits, mindsets, and societal expectations that can gently, imperceptibly turn your ship towards a fog bank of dependence, isolation, and irrelevance. In this in-depth analysis, we will illuminate 5 of the most common and perilous of these currents, mistakes that a staggering 97% of people are estimated to fall into without a second thought. For each one, we will go beyond the surface, exploring the deep psychological underpinnings, sharing relatable real-life examples, and uncovering the silent consequences they bring. By the time we conclude our journey together, you will not only recognize these traps with crystal clarity, but you will be armed with the precise navigational charts needed to steer clear of them, reclaiming the helm of your life and sailing confidently towards a future defined not by regret, but by radiant vitality. Let us begin. The first trap, the quiet abdication of the throne. One of the most insidious mistakes an older adult can make is the premature surrender of their own autonomy. This is the act of giving up control, not in one dramatic gesture, but piece by piece, day by day. It often begins with the noblest of intentions, wrapped in the language of consideration and convenience. You might hear yourself or a loved one say things like, "Oh, let the kids handle the finances. It's just easier for them." Or, "It's too much trouble for me to cook anymore. I'll just eat what's prepared for me." Or, "I don't want to be a bother, so I'll let my daughter make the doctor's appointments." While these statements sound innocuous, even selfless, they are the seeds of a dangerous psychological phenomenon known as learned helplessness. First identified by psychologists Martin Seligman and Stephen Meyer, learned helplessness occurs when a person, after repeated exposure to an uncontrollable situation, comes to believe they have no control over outcomes, even when they actually do. They learn to be passive. When you voluntarily stop managing your own money, you don't just offload a task, you begin to sever the neural pathways associated with financial literacy and decision-making. When you cease choosing your own meals, you aren't just saving time, you are subtly telling your brain that your preferences no longer matter. When you stop advocating for yourself in medical settings, you begin to internalize the identity of a patient rather than a person. This slow drip erosion of self-efficacy leads directly into what experts call the dependency trap. It's a comfort in cage at first. Being taken care of can feel like a relief, a well-deserved rest after a lifetime of responsibility. But over time, this comfort morphs into a corrosive force. It eats away at your confidence, your cognitive sharpness, and ultimately your very sense of self. You begin to feel less like the protagonist of your own story and more like a piece of luggage, passively being carried from one destination to the next. Consider the story of Harold, a vibrant 76-year-old retired architect. After his beloved wife Eleanor passed away, his well-meaning children stepped in to make things easy for him. They set up automatic payments for his bills, arranged for grocery delivery services with pre-selected items, and managed all his medical correspondence. Harold, grieving and tired, was initially grateful. But within a year, a subtle shift occurred. He, a man who once designed complex buildings, found himself struggling to write a check. He stopped offering opinions on household matters because he felt they were no longer his to make. One afternoon, his daughter found him staring blankly out the window. He turned to her and, with a voice hollowed of its former authority, confessed, "I don't feel like a person anymore. I feel like an object in my own home." Harold had fallen into the dependency trap. His world hadn't shrunk because of his age, it had shrunk because he had allowed the controls to be taken from his hands. The good news, and it is profoundly good news, is that this is a reversible process. The throne of your life has not been destroyed, it has merely been vacated. You can reclaim it. The key is to start small, to build what we might call a ladder of autonomy. Don't try to take everything back at once. Instead, choose one small, manageable task that you used to do. It could be balancing your own checkbook for 1 month. It could be taking responsibility for preparing your own breakfast every morning. It could be making a single phone call to schedule a non-urgent appointment. Each reclaimed task is another rung on the ladder back to self-possession. The goal is not to reject help or to do everything alone. It is to remain the active, engaged, and decisive CEO of your own existence. Because the moment you completely relinquish control is the moment you give permission for your world to contract. Don't wait until your voice has faded to a whisper to realize how powerful it always was. That was the first invisible trap, a foundational one concerning personal agency. If you recognize the importance of maintaining control and found this analysis useful, please comment with the number 1 below to let us know you're on this journey of empowerment with us. The second trap, the silent epidemic of loneliness. In an age that glorifies quiet contemplation and peaceful solitude, it can be easy to misdiagnose a serious threat. We often assume that as we get older, a desire for more alone time is a natural and healthy part of winding down. But there is a vast and perilous chasm between life-giving solitude and life-draining isolation. Social isolation, for many older adults, quietly becomes one of the most significant and underestimated health risks they face. A silent epidemic with consequences as physiologically real as smoking or obesity. When you consistently withdraw from social circles, when the weekly card game is abandoned, the invitations from friends are politely declined, and the phone calls to family become less frequent, your mind and body begin to pay a heavy price. Loneliness is not merely an emotional state of sadness, it is a biological state of alarm. Research has shown a powerful link between chronic loneliness and a host of devastating health outcomes. It can accelerate cognitive decline, increase the risk of developing dementia by as much as 50%, weaken the immune system to fight infection, and significantly raise the likelihood of heart disease and stroke. It is, in the starkest terms, a physiological poison. This mistake is particularly pervasive among those who have lost a spouse, experienced a decline in mobility, or whose children and friends have moved away. The internal monologue is often one of self-effacement. I don't want to be a burden on anyone, or it's just too much effort to get ready and go out. But this choice, framed as a courtesy to others, is a profound disservice to oneself. It starves the brain of the very stimulation it needs to thrive. Let's delve into the story of Grace, a 72-year-old retired librarian with a quick wit and a love for literature. After her husband, Robert, passed away, the vibrant social life they had built together seemed to lose its color. She stopped attending her church socials and the book club she had co-founded decades earlier. She told herself she was simply giving others space and saving them the trouble of dealing with her grief. But as weeks turned into months, a fog began to settle over her. She felt increasingly forgetful, misplacing keys and struggling to recall names. Her energy levels plummeted. During a checkup, her astute doctor, after ruling out other causes, looked at her kindly and said, "Grace, the social interaction you've given up is as vital to your brain health as any prescription I could write for you. Your mind is like a muscle. It needs the exercise of conversation, laughter, and shared experience. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. Humans are fundamentally wired for connection. When we engage in positive social interactions, our brains release a cocktail of beneficial neurochemicals, including dopamine, which is associated with pleasure and motivation, and oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which fosters feelings of trust and reduces stress. Without this regular neurochemical nourishment, the brain can become a fertile ground for depression and anxiety, which often take root so quietly that the individual doesn't even recognize their presence until they are deeply entrenched. It's crucial to differentiate here between chosen solitude and imposed isolation. Solitude is restorative. It's reading a book in a quiet corner, tending to a garden alone, or simply enjoying your own company. It recharges your battery. Isolation, on the other hand, drains it. It is the unwanted absence of meaningful connection. The key to escaping this trap is to understand that staying connected does not require a packed social calendar or being the life of the party. It is about intentionality. It can be a scheduled weekly phone call with a sibling, writing a letter to an old friend, joining an online forum dedicated to a hobby you love, or even just making small talk with the cashier at the grocery store. The goal is to remain visible, to stay engaged in the rich tapestry of human community, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant the threads may seem. Breaking free from the clutches of isolation is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can perform, a reclamation of the spirit that can add years to your life and life to your years. If these insights into the critical importance of social connection resonate with you, please comment with the number 2 below. Your engagement helps us see what content is most valuable to you. And if you haven't already, please consider supporting our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive analysis designed to inform and inspire. Your support is what allows us to continue this important work. The third trap, the corrosive rust of inactivity. There is a pervasive and deeply damaging myth about aging, the belief that as aches, pains, and fatigue set in, the wisest course of action is to slow down, to rest more, to do less. While rest is undeniably important, the wholesale abandonment of regular physical movement is one of the most significant self-inflicted wounds of later life. It's not about suddenly training for a marathon or lifting immense weights. It is about rejecting the notion that a sedentary life is an inevitable consequence of aging. When consistent movement ceases, a predictable and devastating cascade of decline begins. Think of the human body as an intricate, self-repairing machine. Movement is the oil that keeps its parts lubricated and running smoothly. When you stop moving, the machine begins to rust. Muscles, deprived of the demand to work, begin to atrophy and weaken. Bones, no longer subjected to the healthy stress of weight-bearing activity, lose their density and become brittle, dramatically increasing the risk of fractures from a fall. Balance, a complex skill orchestrated by the inner ear, eyes, muscles, and joints, deteriorates without practice, making the very act of walking across a room a hazardous endeavor. This creates a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. A person feels a bit of stiffness in their knee, so they decide to skip their morning walk. Because they skip the walk, the muscles supporting the knee get weaker, and the joint gets even stiffer. The next day, the pain is slightly worse, reinforcing the belief that they should rest more. Within months, this small concession to pain has spiraled into a state of chronic inactivity, leading to a profound loss of strength, confidence, and independence. The very thing they did to avoid discomfort has become the primary source of their physical decline. The benefits of movement extend far beyond the purely mechanical. Physical activity improves circulation, delivering vital oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body, including your brain. It strengthens the heart, making it a more efficient pump. It releases endorphins, the body's natural mood elevators and painkillers, which can be more effective than medication for mild to moderate depression. It sharpens the mind, with studies consistently showing that regular exercise can improve memory, focus, and processing speed. To neglect physical movement is to let your body's engine idle until it sputters and stalls. Let us revisit the story of Walter, a 79-year-old man who had spent his life as a postman, walking miles every day. Upon retiring, he embraced the idea of a well-earned rest. He gave up his daily walks and his beloved vegetable garden, believing his body was simply too tired and worn out. He spent his days in his comfortable armchair, reading and watching television. But within a year, the rest he sought had turned on him. His legs, once his source of pride and strength, felt heavy and unreliable. He began stumbling over rugs and feeling dizzy when he stood up. His world shrank to the four walls of his house. It was a visiting physical therapist who finally broke the spell. She didn't ask him to run, she asked him to march in place for 2 minutes while holding onto a countertop. The next day, it was 3 minutes, then a short walk to the end of his driveway. Slowly, painstakingly, Walter began to reintroduce movement into his life. The change was astonishing. Within a few months, not only had his strength and balance returned, but his mood lifted, and he felt, in his own words, more alive than I have in years. He had been rusting, and movement was the cure. It is essential to redefine what exercise means in this context. Forget the images of sweaty, high-impact gym workouts. Movement can be dancing in your living room to your favorite music. It can be gentle chair yoga that improves flexibility and breathing. It can be Tai Chi in the park, a practice renowned for its benefits to balance and mental calm. It can be lifting light hand weights or even cans of soup while watching the news. It can be walking with a friend, which combines physical activity with the crucial social connection we discussed earlier. The key is not intensity, but consistency. The goal is to weave movement into the fabric of your daily life, not to treat it as a chore to be dreaded. Ignoring this principle is like owning a beautiful car and letting it sit in the garage, refusing to add fuel. It might look fine, but it's not going anywhere. Keep your body in motion, and in doing so, you will safeguard your freedom. How do you like to keep your body active? We would genuinely love to hear your favorite ways to move, whether it's gardening, swimming, dancing, or walking. Share your inspiration in the comments section below. And if you agree that movement is medicine, please show your support by commenting with the number 3. The fourth trap: resisting the digital bridge to the modern world. For many older adults, the relentless march of technology can feel overwhelming, confusing, or even threatening. The response is often a complete and total avoidance. They might proudly declare, "I don't need one of those complicated smartphones," or "the internet is just for young people." This resistance, however, is no longer a quaint preference. In today's interconnected world, it is a form of self-imposed exile. Choosing to disengage from basic technology is akin to deciding you no longer need a telephone or a mailbox. It cuts you off from vital lifelines of communication, healthcare, social connection, and essential services, limiting your independence in ways you may not even realize. To view technology merely as a source of convenience is to fundamentally misunderstand its role in modern life. It is a powerful tool for empowerment and autonomy. Consider the realm of healthcare. Telemedicine appointments allow you to consult with a specialist from the security and comfort of your own home, eliminating the stress and physical strain of travel. Digital prescription reminders and automated pill dispensers can be life-saving tools for managing complex medication schedules. Online patient portals give you direct access to your own health records and test results, making you a more informed and active participant in your care. Beyond health, technology is the primary bridge to connection. Video calls transform a simple phone conversation into a rich, visual experience where you can see a grandchild smile, witness a friend's new haircut, or share a virtual cup of coffee with a loved one across the country. It is a potent antidote to the isolation we discussed earlier. Furthermore, online grocery and meal delivery services can be a godsend for those with mobility challenges, while access to online banking provides a secure and immediate way to manage finances without having to visit a physical branch. I remember meeting Linda, a sharp and witty 70-year-old who was fiercely resistant to technology. "It's all too complicated, and I don't trust it," she'd say. But as her friends and family became more reliant on group texts and video chats to stay in touch, she began to feel profoundly lonely and out of the loop. She felt like the world was moving on without her. Her granddaughter, patient and kind, spent an afternoon with her, not to teach her how to use a computer, but to achieve a specific goal. Let's learn how to see and talk to your great-grandson in California. She taught Linda a single app. That one skill opened up an entirely new world. Soon, Linda was delightedly receiving daily photos, joining family video calls, and even using a simple app on her phone to remind her to take her blood pressure medication. Technology had not complicated her life, it had enriched and simplified it. The fear and hesitation are understandable. Concerns about online scams are valid, and the frustration of learning a new, non-intuitive interface is real. However, the solution is not avoidance, but a strategic and supported approach to learning. The brain, at any age, benefits immensely from the challenge of acquiring new skills. Learning a piece of technology is a fantastic cognitive workout. The key is to start small and stay specific. Don't try to become a tech expert overnight. Pick one thing you want to do, like send a text message or look up a recipe, and focus only on that. Ask a trusted, patient family member or friend for a dedicated lesson. Look for resources specifically designed for seniors, such as classes at a local library or community center. Frame the learning around the benefit, not the tool. The goal isn't to learn FaceTime, the goal is to see my grandkids' faces more often. Resisting the digital bridge may feel safer in the short term, but in the long run, it leads to a smaller, more disconnected, and less independent world. Embracing it, one small step at a time, keeps you informed, engaged, and firmly planted in the 21st century. If you're finding this analysis valuable and see the power of technology as a tool for independence, let us know by commenting with the number 4 below. Your feedback is incredibly important. And as a reminder, if you're getting value from our content, the best way to support us is to subscribe to the channel and turn on that bell for notifications. We appreciate you being here. The 5th trap, the loving trap of limitless giving. This final trap is perhaps the most delicate and emotionally complex of all, as it is born not of neglect or fear, but of profound love. It is the mistake many older adults make of failing to set healthy boundaries with their adult children. It stems from a deeply ingrained parental instinct to always help, always support, and always accommodate, no matter the personal cost. While this endless giving comes from the purest of intentions, without clear and respected limits, it can create a toxic dynamic that leads to financial strain, physical exhaustion, emotional burnout, and, paradoxically, the erosion of the very family relationships it seeks to nurture. When you consistently fail to say no, you risk transforming your role from a cherished parent and grandparent into an on-demand service provider. An unpaid babysitter, an interest-free lender, a 24/7 emotional support hotline. This is not to say that helping one's children is wrong. It is a beautiful and natural part of family life. The danger lies in the absence of reciprocity and respect for your own needs, resources, and life stage. You have earned the right to enjoy your retirement, to pursue your own hobbies, to manage your finances prudently, and to protect your physical and mental energy. Let's consider the poignant case of James, a 75-year-old retired engineer. James adored his 2 adult children and never refused their requests. He co-signed for a risky car loan for his son, lent his daughter a significant portion of his retirement savings for a down payment on a house with no formal repayment plan, and provided full-time childcare for his grandchildren 3 days a week, even when his arthritis was flaring up. He did it all out of love. But after years of this pattern, James found himself financially precarious and constantly exhausted. A quiet resentment began to build, a feeling he was ashamed to admit even to himself. He felt distant from the very family he was sacrificing everything to support. He didn't realize that by never setting a limit, he was not only depleting himself, but also inadvertently preventing his children from achieving full self-sufficiency. He was weakening, not strengthening his family. In the language of psychology, boundaries are not walls you build to push people away. They are lines you draw to define where you end and another person begins. They are a profound act of self-respect. Clear boundaries create the space for healthier, more authentic relationships, built on mutual understanding and appreciation, rather than on obligation and quiet resentment. Learning to say no, or even a more gentle "not right now" or "let me think about that," is one of the most vital skills for seniors to cultivate in order to maintain their autonomy and dignity. Setting these boundaries can be frightening, as it often feels like you are risking disapproval or conflict. The key is to be gentle but firm, and to use I statements that express your own needs without blaming the other person. For example, instead of "you're always asking me for money," try "I love you and want to support you, but my budget doesn't allow for me to lend any money right now." Instead of "you expect me to drop everything to babysit," try "I adore spending time with the grandkids, and I can commit to having them every Tuesday. I need to keep my other days free for my own appointments and rest." These statements aren't selfish, they are honest. They teach others how to treat you and demonstrate that your well-being is a priority. Without these protective lines, it is far too easy to become overwhelmed, taken for granted, or diminished, even by the people who love you most. Remember, your life, your energy, and your resources are your own. It is not only okay, but essential to prioritize them. Setting healthy boundaries allows you to give your love freely without losing yourself in the process. This is such a sensitive topic, and we know many of you may have personal experience with this delicate balance. If you feel comfortable, share your thoughts or experiences on setting boundaries in the comments. And if this fifth point struck a chord with you, please comment with the number 5 to let us know. As we bring our journey to a close, take a moment to reflect on the 5 invisible traps we have uncovered today. We explored the quiet abdication of control, the silent epidemic of loneliness, the corrosive rust of inactivity, the resistance to the digital bridge, and the loving trap of limitless giving. Perhaps one of these resonated with you on a deeply personal level. Maybe you saw a reflection of yourself in the stories of Harold, Grace, Walter, Linda, or James. Or perhaps you now see these patterns with new clarity in the lives of people you love and care about. The single most important takeaway from our discussion is this: awareness is the antidote. Once you can see these subtle currents, these hidden traps, you are no longer at their mercy. You regain the power to choose a different course. Common thread weaving through all 5 of these mistakes is the fundamental choice between proactive engagement and passive acceptance. It is the choice to remain the active, decisive captain of your own ship, rather than becoming a passive passenger being carried by the tides of expectation and convenience.
Aging does not have to be a story of loss, the loss of voice, the loss of freedom, the loss of happiness. It can and should be a story of growth, of growing wiser about what truly matters, and of making conscious, deliberate choices that protect and enhance your dignity, your health, and your joy. These 5 mistakes are not inevitable sentences. They are simply habits, and habits can be unlearned, and new, more empowering ones can be forged, one small, intentional choice at a time. After all of this analysis, we turn the final question to you. What is the single most important lesson or insight you are taking away for yourself today? What is the first small step you plan to take to steer your ship in a direction of greater strength and vitality? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights inspire our entire community and help us all learn and grow together. Remember, the journey of self-care and empowerment is a marathon, not a sprint. Be kind to yourself. Start with small, manageable changes and celebrate every victory along the way. If you found this deep dive analysis helpful and empowering, please show your support by giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone in your life who could benefit from this message. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content that makes a difference. Thank you for investing your time with us today. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.